I don't know if Taison Chatman is going to be a point guard or a combo guard or a shooting guard or however you want to call him. I don't know what that looks like, but he is a guard. That is one thing that we know. So he's a composite top 40 player from the 2023 class. He chose Ohio State over Kansas, UConn, Xavier, and some others. He's been listed as a point guard, or I for one have listed him as a point guard. He can play on and off the ball. According to the scouting reports, according to some of the highlights that you may watch, he can do a little bit of both. He can do some of this, some of that, hither, thither, all that stuff. He'll be solid. So in terms of who he is as a player, if you don't follow Ohio State recruiting all that much, or you're just now learning about Taison Chatman, or maybe you've watched a couple of his highlights and you just need a refresher, any of those are good. That's fine. That's why we're here to talk about him. So he's excelled as a pull-up shooter. He can shoot off the dribble, and he can score from all parts of the court. He can spot up a little bit as well. He's going to be an offensive weapon for Ohio State. Even this season, he's going to step in and get some serious playing time. He'll get some run. In terms of his ability to create and pass, he is a pretty solid passer. He can push the ball in transition. He's not the flashiest of players. You're not going to see some highlight reel plays a lot of times coming from Taison Chatman. He can't jump out of the gym. You know, he'll lack the physically impending frame. He stands at 6'4", 175. Overall, he's still going to be a solid player. A guy who maybe you think of like with Bruce Thornton, who we just spoke about, who he's not going to jump out of the gym. He might not have the most highlight-y plays, but he's going to be a solid player, and he's going to be a guy that Ohio State fans should be very excited about watching him compete and grow heading into this upcoming season. I think that he's going to battle Dale Bonner for those backup point guard minutes. I think he's still going to play whether it be at the 1 or the 2, but that's where I would see him slotting in. Overall, Chatman's going to be a solid piece for Ohio State. He will contribute. Some of the freshmen on this team, they may not contribute as much. Taison Chatman is going to step in and contribute on day 1. Continuing with the theme of point guards or ball handling guards, let's go to Dale Bonner. And again, this is a player who, if you haven't followed Ohio State's offseason closely, you maybe have never even heard of a player by the name of Dale Bonner. Well, Dale Bonner is going to step in as a fifth-year senior for Ohio State. He transfers to Ohio State from Baylor. Spent 2 seasons at Baylor. Before there, he was at Fairmont State. To be honest, I don't know a single fact about Fairmont State. And if you do, well, more power to you. In his 2 seasons at Baylor, he did play meaningful minutes, especially last year. He averaged 19.4 minutes per game. That's not going to jump off the stat sheet like another transfer who had a bunch of minutes, who we'll talk about on the next episode. Subscribe so you don't miss it. But 19.4 minutes per game last season in 29 games for Baylor. 4.7 points per game, 2.7 assists per game, 1.4 steals per game. Again, 2 seasons at Baylor, 2 seasons at Fairmont State. This is his 5th year in college basketball, where he will spend it at Ohio State. Went through a couple of fun facts about Dale Bonner, and he does have some impressive numbers here. So he has multiple 6+ steal games, according to the Ohio State Athletics website, when he was at Baylor. 6+ steals? Multiple? That's crazy. I mean, that's an insane number. He's got 6 double-digit scoring games at Baylor, and his career high at Baylor was 15 points. So in terms of the scoring metrics, they are what they are. He hasn't had a lot of playing time, so you look at the counting numbers and you're like, this guy isn't very good. But this is why we have college basketball analytics to help us out, cbbanalytics.com. Use the promo code SHOT for 1 month free, of course. We can see his player profile comps in terms of these are his advanced metrics as a scorer, as a shooter, as a passer, taking care of the ball, defensively, rebounding, all those types of things. And what does it come out to? Well, if you're a big-time Big Ten basketball fan, then you'll know these players. So his profile, very similar to Xavier Johnson. Disclaimer, that's not Xavier Johnson, the Ohio State wide receiver. That's Xavier Johnson, the Indiana basketball player. He's also very similar to a player like Cam Spencer, played at Rutgers. Here's what he brings. And this is where it gets good. Again, you look at the counting numbers and you may say, this guy's never going to play. I'm not excited about him. Whatever. He's just here to use a final year of eligibility at Ohio State. He needed to change his scenery. Whatever. He's from Shaker Heights. I guess he wanted to come back home and play at Ohio. Well, no, not really. Well, maybe those things could be true, but as a player, you should be excited about him. So here's a couple things to know about Dale Bonner, the player. Okay. First of all, pass first, playmaking point guard. These numbers are elite. 34.6 assist ratio. That's 99th percentile last year in college basketball. 24.4 assist percentage. 90th percentile in college basketball last season. And 2.32 assist to turnover ratio was 95th percentile. Dale Bonner may not have jumped out of the box score every single game at Baylor last season, but when it comes to the specific metrics where you're looking at efficiency, Dale Bonner was better than nearly anyone in college basketball. So you should be excited for Bonner to be donning the scarlet and gray this season. He's also the type of guy who, in my mind, is going to slap the floor and sit down and defend. I imagine the fast twitch fibers in this young man off the charts, okay? 4.3% steal percentage. That's 98th percentile. Again, you look at his steals numbers, which were actually pretty good. And now I'm all out of sorts here with my papers, so I'm probably not going to find this because I've got way too many notes here. But I actually have found it. I found it. 1.4 steals per game. That's already elite production right there. But not only 1.4 steals per game, but 4.3 steal percentage. That's 98th percentile. Are we really realizing how good this kid could potentially be at Ohio State? Again, the counting stats, they're nothing. But when he got the playing time as a role player at Baylor, he was fantastic. His personal foul efficiency of 1.16 was 97th percentile. Personal foul efficiency is just your ratio of steals and blocks to personal fouls. So, not only did he get a bunch of steals specifically and some blocks, that's fine, but in comparison to the personal fouls, basically none. So, he's out there producing defensively while not getting trouble with ticky-tack fouls or anything like this. Again, this is also a player who's going to be battle-tested for Ohio State. He's not some transfer from, checks notes, Central University of South Southern Nebraska West Central Community College State. He's not a transfer from a school that you've never heard of, from a D2 school or something like that. This is a player who played 2 seasons at Baylor. He played real minutes, playing in the Big 12, matching up against Kansas and Texas and the 39 other schools in the Big 12 that finished 16-16. But just by nature, by virtue of being in the Big 12, we're on the bubble last season. Shout out West Virginia. We'll see you soon on December 31st in Cleveland. So this is a player who is going to step into a role. He's probably not going to start. He may not start a single game this entire season, but he's battle-tested. He's the exact type of player that Ohio State needs to fill a role this season, and the Buckeyes and you should be excited about having Dale Bonner on this roster. It'll be interesting to see how Chris Holtmann uses him. Can you not feel the energy? It is palpable. And the only time the word palpable is ever used is in sports. We only use that word when talking about the environment, the energy, the atmosphere in a stadium or an arena, whatever. I'll be cliche and I'll use it here. We are so close to college basketball. Shall we rejoice in that? Rejoice by subscribing. Why don't you, if you haven't already? Or if you have, ask a friend. Don't even ask a friend. Just do it for them, okay? You know better than your friend knows anyway. You know that sometimes they make decisions that they probably shouldn't, and they don't make decisions that they probably should. So just grab their phone real quick, subscribe for them. Do that. Areas of improvement for Dale Bonner. Back to why you're here. Turnovers. So, while he did have a bunch of assists, he was a fantastic playmaking point guard during his career at Baylor. Last season, his turnover percentage was 22.8%. That's not good. to put it kindly, not good. You want to see Dale Bonner be able to take care of the basketball, squeeze the orange, as they say. The other part we'd like to see him be a little bit better is rebounding. So Dale Bonner is 6'3". Okay? Bruce Thornton, by the way, as you hear me searching for my Bruce Thornton notes, I didn't even put his height in here. Bruce Thornton's 6'3", 6'4". I don't remember which, but he's either 6'3" or 6'4". And Thornton's rebounding metrics in terms of defensive rebounding percentage, offensive rebounding percentage, they're better than Dale Bonner's. Similar size, similar frame, whatever. Maybe Baylor was the type of team who said, hey, point guard, get back on defense or whatever, and that's fine. 6.1% defensive rebounding percentage. That's 6th percentile. 6th percentile. How do you explain that kindly? It's really, really bad. You don't want to be 6th percentile in anything. If you take the ACT or the SAT or whatever they take these days, I don't know what you all are taking. If you take any kind of college exam, I need to take a water. I need a sip. I'm sorry. People don't realize the toll it takes when you're talking for 30, 40 minutes about college basketball, specifically Ohio State, man. You need water. Got to stay hydrated. Keep those pipes. I'm not going to finish that sentence. Okay. Rebounding percentage, not good for Dale Bonner. You'd like to see him contribute a little bit more there. We'll see if he has the ability to this season. Howdy. My name is Tim Miller. I'm the host of the Views from the Shop podcast, as you may know. I want to thank you for watching this episode, which is a part of a pretty grand project that we're working on, the season preview series. Much more content coming out, not on a daily basis, but multiple times a week as we get ready for the college basketball season, specifically for Ohio State. So if you haven't already, I want to remind you, please subscribe here on YouTube, and please find us wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, those Google things, or iHeartRadio, wherever you go to get your podcasts. Doesn't matter to me. Just find us there. Also follow us on Twitter and Instagram so you don't miss any content. Our goal is to be your number one source for Ohio State basketball exclusive content. So make sure you find us wherever you get your sports content. Appreciate you watching today, and hopefully we'll see you soon.